Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be running around that area just over there, which is Fuzhou's new CBD. I don't usually run around the built-up areas of the city, but there are many bits of the CBD that are pedestrianised, and it also contains many of Fuzhou's most interesting modern buildings, so I think it'll be good for filming. But first I've got to get across this bridge, so let's go. I want to talk today about motivation and how to make sure you get out and run during the winter when it's often cold and dark and wet and you probably don't want to go out for a run. Now you might be watching this and thinking, why is he talking about running in bad weather? Look at the weather where he is, it's beautiful. Well, I actually filmed the footage for this a few months ago, but I'm only just putting it together now in early January. So as I'm sat here recording the audio and looking out the window, it's grey and it's cold, and the last few days we've had quite a bit of rain. So just like many other runners in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm also dealing with having to run in bad weather. Now, if you're thinking that I'm going to give you some tips on how to stay motivated, I'm not. Because actually, I don't think motivation is going to help you to get out and run, even when the weather's really horrible. Motivation is a fair weather friend. So if you wake up on a Sunday morning during the spring, it's 9:30 a.m, you've had a bit of a lie-in, and you've got nothing else to do for the rest of the day. You look out the window, it's clear skies, it's warm. You're going to be absolutely full of motivation to get out and run. You'll have no problem putting on your shoes and getting out the door. But if you wake up on a Wednesday morning in the middle of winter at 6 a.m, you've got 2 hours before you have to leave for work, and outside it's raining and it's cold, you'll find that you have absolutely zero motivation to run. Motivation is not there anymore. So what I think you need instead of motivation to make sure that you carry on running this winter is commitment. Commitment is what is going to drag you out of bed and make sure that you go out day after day and put in the amount of work that you want to. But you can't just make yourself committed. You can't just say, I have commitment to running, and then suddenly you've got commitment. It doesn't work like that. You need something to give you commitment. And I've got two ideas for things that I think can give you the commitment that you're going to need to make sure that you carry on running this winter. So the first thing, and I think the best thing that you can do, is to sign up for a race. But not just any race. It needs to be a race that right now, or if you were to do this race in perhaps a couple of weeks, you wouldn't be able to complete it. So it needs to be quite far outside of what you can already do. It needs to be a race that you're only going to be able to complete, or a race that you're only going to be able to finish in a respectable time if you put in training. What kind of race that is going to obviously depend on where you're at already with your running. But whatever it is, make sure it's a race that you couldn't do without putting in a decent amount of training first. Because what that's going to mean is that you're going to know that you need to get out and you need to put in the work, or you're simply not going to be able to complete this race.
So this building here is actually a new library. Now I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty sure it's the biggest library in Fuzhou. It's a very interesting building. You maybe can't describe it as beautiful. It's obviously very modern in its design, just like all the buildings in this area. But I do like how they try to incorporate elements of a traditional Chinese sloping roof. As you can see, there's still a lot of building going on in this area. They actually only started developing this part of the city about 4, maybe 5 years ago. So they built a lot in that short period of time.
So it's not a question then of motivation. It's not because you feel like, yes, I want to get out and run, I'm so motivated. It's a feeling of being committed because you've set yourself a challenge, you've signed up for the race, you've paid your money, and of course you want to complete it, and ideally you want to complete the race in a good time. Let's go back to our hypothetical Wednesday morning in January when it's raining and it's cold and it's dark. Now you'll be laying in bed and you're still not going to have any motivation.
So this building, the ICC, I don't know much about it, but I do know that when it's finished, it's going to be the tallest building in Fujian province.
You're still not going to want to get out and run. You're going to want to stay in your nice warm bed. But the difference is this time you're going to know that if you don't get out and run, if you don't put in the kilometers, then you're never going to be able to complete the race that you've signed up for. So you're going to realize that, yeah, it's going to suck a bit to go out and run this morning, but going out and running this morning is going to suck a lot less than not being able to complete the race that I've signed up for. So that's when your commitment to the race is going to pull you out of bed and make sure you get running. So get online, start looking for races that are convenient for you to go to. and that are happening around the end of March, and that is a distance and kind of terrain that's going to challenge you enough so that you need to train for that in order to keep yourself running throughout winter. Now, if racing isn't your thing, then another thing that I think is a really good idea is to set yourself a cumulative distance goal. For example, you could set yourself a goal of running a certain number of kilometers during the month of February, or perhaps running a certain number of kilometers before the beginning of spring. Now, this is different from just setting yourself a goal of I'm going to run 5 times a week, because the good thing about a cumulative distance goal is you can watch yourself counting down the amount of kilometers, and that's going to give you an incentive to keep going out and running, and perhaps to push yourself to run even further than you usually would. Now, ideally, I'd say for this goal, you should really do it with a friend or even a group of friends, because you want somebody who can hold you to account. Now, if you don't know any people who run or anybody else who wants to make this a goal for themselves also, then you could try making the commitment to yourself, and that's going to depend somewhat on your personality. Some people are very good at making a promise to themselves and keeping it, whereas others find that more difficult. So that's something you're going to have to work with. But ideally, I'd say look for a friend. It doesn't need to be somebody who lives in the same area as you. You don't have to go running together. The key here is that you've both committed to the same goal and you can hold each other to account. So I actually did this myself last May. A friend and I set a goal to run 310 kilometers in the month of May, so an average of 10 kilometers a day. Now, whether you think that's a lot of running or not, of course, depends on how much you yourself run. Certainly for me at the time, it was quite a lot of running. Having this cumulative target for the month really helped to ensure that I got out and ran almost every day. So for example, I might get home from work and it would be very late and it would be dark and it'd be raining and I really wouldn't want to go out. I had absolutely no motivation at all. But because I had committed to achieving this goal, I knew that if I didn't go out and run today and get 10 kilometers in, then the next day I was going to have to go out and run 20 kilometers, which was going to be even more difficult. And each day my friend and I would talk to each other, so we'd know how we were each doing and we could hold each other to account and make sure that we were really putting in these runs and making sure that we were going to achieve this goal together. So if I did miss a run, I knew that I'd also have my friend messaging me going, hey, what's up? I haven't seen the stats for your run today. That worked really well for me, and both of us in the end did achieve the goal. I finished the month with 311 kilometers. I hope that's given you some ideas about how to make sure that you keep up your running throughout the winter. Good luck with your training.
Okay, that's it. All in all, it was 7.1 kilometers and about 52 minutes. To be honest, I don't think the CBD is the best place to go running, but I am glad that I did it. It was certainly interesting to see all the modern buildings. So I enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed it too. See you next time. Bye.